joy is a choice.
Right.
Right? It's not a thing. The saying money can't buy happiness is true. There's a reason that saying is there.
Yeah.
Right? Because whatever you get will give you happiness for a moment, but it doesn't bring you long-lasting anything.
Right. The Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Soul, episode number 15. Hello, you amazing motherfuckers, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, where we get into the utter shitstorm the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Soul, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I am soups pumped because I am talking with the incredible Jeff Jones, who is an abundance trainer as well as a certified alcohol and drug abuse counselor, clinical hypnotherapist, and transpersonal life coach. I know, say that 10 times fast. Jeff shares his amazing story of how changing his perspective helped him go from a life of homelessness and addiction to a life of purpose and joy. Sounds amazing, right? Well, all right, let's get into this amazing fucking story, why don't we? Roll it, darling. I said fucking roll it. Jeff Jones!
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Shit Show.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm so honored that you can join me because I was reading about your bio and it's an incredible story. And I just want to start by saying that on your website, reclaimyourjoy.guru.
Correct.
Which is an amazing name for a website.
Thanks.
I never thought of .guru. You are an abundance trainer.
Yes.
You are a drug and alcohol counselor.
Yes.
You are a clinical hypnotherapist.
Yes.
And a transpersonal life coach.
Correct.
You're quite the multitasker.
Well, thank you. It's been a lot of years working on this.
Do you also spin plates?
I don't, but that's an interesting idea.
So tell us about your work. Tell us a bit about some of the work that you do.
Yeah, well, all the work that I do has come out of a need that I had to try to be a little bit better every day.
I love that.
Simple as that. And the end result to it is really coming down to recognizing that I'm not broken, but I sure believe that I am.
Wow.
And then what do I need to do? Because it's a very personal story for me.
Yeah. You know, I also have found that so many people that get into the counselor arena we're doing it for ourselves. Right? It's like you're starting because it's like I'm doing this podcast for myself because of my struggles in my healing and spirituality. So, I mean, I love that you're aware of that. So tell me what an abundance trainer does.
Yeah. First off, there's two ways that you can choose to look at things. You can choose from looking at it from a place of lack, or you can choose to look at it from a place of abundance.
Right.
Right? And things that are in front of us are just things. It's how we use that information that comes to us that determines what we're going to do.
Right.
And that was always a big part of the things that I needed to work on. It was simply, I'm not enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I pretty much believe that everybody has that kind of thought rolling through their head.
Yeah.
And coming at it from a place of abundance, when something happens, how am I going to react to it? How am I going to respond to it?
Right.
So that's really what it is. It's helping people see things in a different way, a different choice.
So what are some of the techniques or the advice that you would give someone who is coming from a space of lack? Because I'm not going to lie, I struggle with that myself.
Okay. Yeah, Suzanne, there's a ton. And really what it comes to is, like, look around this room. And if I asked you what color this room was, you'd say it was green or it was burgundy, it was something, right? But if I asked you to really look at it, you'd recognize that there are hundreds or thousands of shades of these colors, right?
Yes.
So there's all of this information that comes in, right? At every moment,
Right.
right? And then what am I going to do with that? And the only things that get into our head are the things we've let in before.
Right.
So think about that, right? So if I wake up in the morning and with setting the intention, today's going to be a crappy day. You know what? I'll find it.
Right.
It will be a crappy day.
Yes.
If I wake up, so you asked, like, what are things to do? Check yourself in the morning. What's your outlook in the morning? What's my intention for today?
Where do you think that preset that some of us have, that when we wake up, we're seeing that from a place of lack based on maybe a mood we're in when we're waking up? Or how does that, like, how do some people wake up and go, everything's so wonderful, and then some people wake up and go,
you know what? Actually, it's not. I'll go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
It's not so much I wake up and I say everything's going to be wonderful, but I wake up and say I'm going to give it a fair chance.
I love that.
Okay. I'm going to be curious about the day. And there are some very simple things that you can do that begin to get a new neural pathway in your head.
Yes.
And there are things like mindfulness is a word that's really overused and it becomes kind of trite, right? But it's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
It is looking at what's in front of me without judgment, and the judgment's really of myself.
Right.
Right. So when I walk into the kitchen in the morning, I'm pretty excited about making coffee.
I love that.
Simple things.
So do you find that when you're talking about the neural pathways, that it's just basically consistently being willing to put that into practice in your life? Like, today I'm going to give it a fair chance, which is to me, like, that's so amazing to think of it that way. Because sometimes if you're kind of in a negative space, going all the way to being like, everything's great but what you're saying feels like attainable.
Well, that's the thing. Because, people in like self-help work or wellness work, or, I'm in recovery work, we want light switches.
Right.
Right? I want this better now.
Yeah.
If I read this book, if I get this plunge pool, if I do this, I'll be better.
Right.
Right? I'll be fine.
Utopia.
It's not it.
Right.
Because I don't know how many moments there are in a day, right? But it's a lot.
Yes.
Right? But this moment's the only moment.
Right.
So it is what I do in each of those moments that builds the foundation, that gives me the strength to approach things that are difficult.
Yeah.
Right? That give me that ability to go, you know what? I am really angry now, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm really happy now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really sad now, but I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah. But you have to have that foundation. So it is absolutely taking each of these moments and going, man, the sky looks great. That's enough.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, your subconscious then looks for confirming evidence that's beautiful.
Yes. What is the one they say when a pickpocket looks around, all they see is pockets?
I've never heard that. And that's awesome. But that's true.
Yeah.
We always find what we're looking for.
Right. It's true.
And if we're looking for problems, or if we have a perception that this is the way this is going to be, it will be that way.
Right.
We will create it if we need to, but it will be that way.
And it's kind of shocking, isn't it?
It really is.
It's like, if you, kind of have that mentality where you don't feel like you're the master of your universe, and you kind of feel like a pinball in a pinball machine, and then to look at your life and go, no, but actually I'm, obviously we can't control everything or anyone around us, but I have the control of how I experience my life. And when you're coming from the place of, I feel like I'm being tossed around and it's really challenging to say, I do. Like, so important work.
It is. It used one of my favorite words, and control.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to. Safety is where we want to be. We want to be safe.
Yeah.
And then around that safety is a sphere of fear.
Yes.
For everything.
Right.
Right? I mean, you learn to drive, and driving is terrorizing when you're starting, right?
Yes.
Remember when you started and you actually adjusted the mirrors and like looked before you drove
Yes.
and all that stuff?
Yes.
Right? But then you go to growth and then transformation. But the safety, I want to control everything.
Right.
And there's only two things that you can control, and that's how you treat yourself and how you treat others. That is it.
Yeah.
Everything else is out of your control, including everything that you say to me and I'm saying to you, because I don't know the trillions of experiences you've had.
Right.
You don't know mine. So everything I'm saying, I really don't know how it's impacting you at all.
Right.
But I want to.
Right.
I want you to understand.
Exactly. I have a vision for what I want you to get out of what I'm saying.
Right.
But like you're saying, it's going through all the filters of all my previous experiences in my life. And so I'm hearing how I hear based on my experiences.
So for us and for people that are listening and watching and things, it's asking questions.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I feel a little uncomfortable here. I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Right. To make it okay. Right.
Versus trying to bludgeon the person that's across from you or the person who cut you off or the cashier, whatever it is. Right? Just say it is like your t-shirt says, breathe.
Breathe, girl.
Yeah. Take a breath and go, this is kind of funny. Why am I getting so worked up over this?
And to me, that is abundance thinking, because when you get triggered, you don't bottom out. Like, oh my gosh, this thing happened and now everything's gone to pot.
It's absolutely abundance.
Right. Okay, so I would love to switch gears, and so your workshops. Oh no, actually, I want to say this. On your website, it says that your work is guided by your own journey, and that overnight you went from being a senior corporate executive to a homeless alcoholic, then found recovery, transformation, purpose, and joy. So let's get into this shit show.
Okay, because that was quite the shit show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I always tell people I like the outcome where I'm at,
yes,
but I don't recommend the path.
Right. I wouldn't start from there.
Don't do that, right? I had 2 career jobs. I was the youngest executive director of a Fortune 100 company. I was recruited and became a senior vice president of one of the largest market research companies in the country, and drank all the time. Okay, drank all the time. Alcohol was my drug of choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Tried everything else, always came back to alcohol, right? And being in the corporate world, I could actually drink pretty openly. So it actually worked to my benefit, right? And so I got over the top to where it was becoming a problem. And then in 2008, when the economy crashed and our company kind of went whoop, and I didn't have a place to be, and a secondary company I had went out of business, and I suddenly lost my wife, my home. To
divorce,
foreclosure.
Okay.
Everything.
So the company fell apart, and then the money started.
And I didn't handle it well.
I gotcha.
And I drank.
Yeah.
And I drank harder. And then one day I woke up at a hospital 38 miles from my house, and I still don't know how I got there.
Oh my gosh.
And stayed there for a while, and then I lived on the streets for a while.
So out of the hospital, there was nowhere to go.
I had nowhere to go. I don't have family or anything like that. I'm not from Chicago, so I didn't know people.
Right. Where are you from?
Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
And it never occurred to me to reach out to anybody, And I wandered the streets, and then ended up in a shelter.
So when you were on the streets, were you just sleeping on a park bench and were you getting your money from alcohol by panhandling or begging?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. God
Yeah.
bless.
Now, I didn't do that long. I
Right.
don't want to make
Okay.
it sound like I was out there for
Right.
years or
Right.
anything like that,
Yeah.
or woe is me. But I learned very quickly that I'm not good at this. I am not good at being on the streets.
Yes.
Right? I just
yeah.
didn't work. And I ended up in a shelter.
Okay.
And Suzanne, it was amazing. I lived there for 18 months.
Yeah.
And it was the best 18 months of my life.
Oh.
And I'll tell you, because I was 57 years old.
Right.
And I had 18 months to do nothing but work on myself.
Oh, yeah.
How cool is that?
Amazing.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, seriously,
yes.
My needs were met.
Right. Right.
I was fine. I was certainly in a place. I mean, I was so broken that it was fine.
Right.
Right. I never made
nothing
a
to
judgment
lose
about it.
Yeah.
Right. It was fine.
Yeah.
And then the abundance piece, I'm going to loop back to that if I may.
Yeah, of course.
On December 9th of 2009, 2009, I was looking out my window at the shelter I was in, and our window looked out down Grand Avenue towards where Navy Pier is, right? But we're 2 miles in, so I don't really see the water or anything. But the sunrises are magnificent, right? The sun's coming up over the lake and it's bouncing off the windows. So living in the shelter, you walk around a lot, and I know what the apartments rented for, the condos cost, and I'm watching all the lights coming off of these things. And I'm standing there, I'm in a dorm room with 4 other guys from a big house in Naperville, right? And I'm looking out the window, and I go, look at this. I got the same view as that guy. And I'm pointing at the building down the block.
Yeah.
And I said, he's paying $4,000 a month and I'm making $9 a week.
The same view.
I got the same view.
I love that.
And, that's the joke part of it.
Right.
The reality was that was the start of saying, you know what, I can do this. I can recover from this. Because I was 57. It was the very first time in my life I was ever fully present and grateful. Yeah. And the abundance piece, gratitude is always the base of it.
And may I ask, at that point, when did you decide to stop drinking? Because obviously at this point you had stopped drinking, correct? So was it when you went into the shelter and had you made the decision to quit drinking prior and then went into the shelter, or what? How did that go?
No, because like I said, I ended up in that hospital and I was a mess.
Yeah.
And they really didn't expect me to live.
Oh, geez.
Right. And so when I left there and I went to the shelter, you couldn't drink in the shelter. I didn't know downtown Chicago, so I didn't leave, that building.
Yeah.
So it just kind of happened. It wasn't like a conscious choice that I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't have those options and I'm not going to think about it.
Right.
And then it took, that was the start, right? Of just being grateful for a moment and recognizing that I was safe, I was warm, I was well clothed, I was well fed.
Yeah.
And then the 2 most important things was that I was doing meaningful work. And the meaningful work, I was folding shirts.
Wow.
Right? Versus senior vice president or something, right?
Yeah.
But it was important work because that's the shirts that got to the stores that people sold, right?
Right.
And the most important thing, and I think people in recovery can relate to this, I was surrounded by people that were trying to get a little bit better.
Yeah. Makes a difference.
It makes a difference because no matter what I thought about me, I could watch others, I could see others, I could learn from others, they could learn from me. And it was a common denominator, right, of what it is that we could do together. Yeah, so, that was the start of this whole thing. And I didn't have a context of saying, oh, I want to quit drinking for 15 years, or I want to quit drinking for 6 months, or if I quit drinking, I can reclaim. This is the important part. I can work on reclaiming what I had.
Yeah.
because that moment in the window when I recognized, no, wait a minute, in this moment, I'm fine. I'm absolutely okay. I'm safe and I'm warm.
Right.
And that safety was not only physical safety, right, which was important, but it was soul safe because I was around other people trying to get better.
You know, I love what you said around looking at the sunrise and saying, I'm seeing the same sunrise as the guy in the $2 million condo. And it's like that idea is brought forward quite a bit of we're all under the same moon. We're all looking at the same sun, no matter where we are in our lives or what we have or you know what's going on in our lives, you know.
Correct.
And I love that struck you so deeply, that caused you to have such a big shift in your consciousness.
It was a massive shift because it allowed me to do the work knowing that there was a positive outcome from it.
Right.
There was no doubt.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Wow. Like that was like just a complete moment of there's hope.
Yeah, and it never wavered because I never went back to try to reclaim all that. Right. I just looked at it, okay, this is my moment now, and okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And whatever that is fine.
Right. Right.
So
I love that.
Kind of fun.
And so from being in the shelter, then
so I stayed there in one form or another for 10 years.
Okay.
Right? So that's how far this went to not reclaim the past, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up staying and getting an entry-level job at 58 years old, making $9.25 an hour.
God bless.
And figured out how to get an apartment and down the street here at $400 a month for this apartment.
Can't get that anymore.
No, I keep track of that apartment. It's much more than that. And I stayed and began to teach there and took classes. And that's what got me back to school to get all this stuff for hypnotherapy and my CADC and all that kind of thing. And became the program director at the place.
Unbelievable.
And so for 10 years, over that 10-year period, I saw 5,400 men and women go through that program, sometimes several times. That body of evidence, that's a huge sample size.
Yes.
Right? And you can watch, and because it's a shelter, you can watch people 24/7.
Yeah.
I see them when they're eating, when they're working, when they're playing, when they're arguing, right, in chapel and class, all these things.
Yeah.
And that allows you to learn a lot about what works and what doesn't.
Right. So what did you find that really motivated the folks that you worked with to kind of, start to look at a different path for themselves?
Yeah, this is exactly where we started.
Abundance training.
And because everybody, what's the first step in 12 steps, right? Recognizing things are kind of unmanageable.
Correct. And I don't know if you know this, I'm also a member of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Very nice.
And the 12 steps, I always say, even if you're not in the cycle of addiction, the 12 steps is life-changing.
It should be required reading.
For everyone.
For everyone.
100%.
I mean, it's 164 pages, easy reading, goes by and quickly, and it's a great way to live.
It really, honestly, the if you don't mind me saying, the sobriety changed my life, but the 12 steps really shifted everything.
It's a way for non-therapists to be therapists. It's perfect. It's wonderfully written.
Yeah.
But the realization was that out of all those people that came through, they all had a common belief that they weren't something. Right? And it was wild because the place I was in, we had people from all different walks of life, right? But people who shouldn't have gotten along. Right. It would be unlikely that these people would ever go out together and socialize. Right. But that addiction gave us this common denominator, and we always got along.
Yes.
And it was wild, right? There'd be arguments, but never anything else, right?
Right.
So everybody had this belief that they were broken in some way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I look this way, I'm not enough. I have 10 felonies, and I'll never get anything, right? Whatever it was, right? I'm not tall enough and whatever.
Yeah.
Having people recognize within themselves that there's something about them that other people like, and you just damn well better appreciate that and recognize it. That, you know what? Tim, man, you really helped me out with my workbook. You're a good guy.
Yeah.
That's the body of evidence.
Right. Because no one is perfect.
Told by someone else that you're a good guy.
Right.
Accept it.
Right.
Don't brush it off as, that was nothing.
Right. Only the negative comments have weight.
Exactly.
I know.
Right? So we're back to that.
Abundance.
How am I going to look at things, right? Am I going to look at it from a lack or an abundance standpoint without using those words back then?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And recognizing that that's true. That, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we would do with my roommates, this was goofy, and because we only had half an hour to eat lunch, right?
Okay.
That was it. And we'd all get together at our table, 5 guys that should not have ever been together, ever, in their lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we would get together, and this is what we would do. We'd go, so I'm a little bit better today than I was yesterday, because yesterday and you had to fill in the blank. What did you do to get a little bit better?
Right.
And it could be something like I prayed a little longer.
Yeah.
I helped Timmy with his workbook.
Right.
I helped a new guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. But all of those things, without us knowing the wording, allowed new neural pathways to get formed that said, you know what? Not only am I not as bad as I thought I was, I'm actually pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
And if you get someone to that I'm pretty good standpoint,
right,
they're more likely to do the work.
Right. And it falls back to that same thing that you were talking about in when you wake up in the morning. You don't have to go from I'm terrible or I'm a piece of shit to I'm the greatest person ever, but I'm pretty good.
I'm pretty good.
And today I'm going to give it a shot to make it a good day. And I love that. Because it's attainable.
Because
if you're coming from a place where you're feeling,
I said this a couple of times, but it's so important. That this moment is the only moment.
Right.
Right. It sounds so stupid and trite.
Right.
But it's true.
Yeah. Like Kenny Loggins said, this is it.
This is it. So what am I going to do with this?
Right.
Because we're making choices. Right. Tens of thousands of them every day.
Yep.
Right. And so what am I going to choose in all of these things? Am I going to default? Because there's only 2 emotions. Okay. Psychology will tell you there's 5 usually, right? There's only 2. There's fear and love. That's all there is.
Right. And branching off of those.
The rest of them are all just little things so other people can sell books.
Right.
Right. And do those kinds of things. Where am I defaulting?
Right.
Am I defaulting to fear or love? Lack or abundance?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Being in that shelter, something I learned that I didn't even know I was learning, how important community is.
Right.
So there's another thing you can do. How am I engaging with others?
Yeah.
During my day? Am I looking at others as being a burden? Right? Yeah. Am I looking at my phone and going, oh, it's Steve again. Jeez. Like,
yeah, right.
What am I doing?
Right. Right. And where do you think that comes into play, like from getting to the point where someone is, oh, here's an opportunity for me to engage with someone from their Steve?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to your T-shirt.
Breathe, girl.
It is, there's a saying that we live about 70% of our time in the future and 30% of our time in the past, which leaves no time for living now. Right?
Right.
And this is absolutely about being here.
It's like showing up in the moment.
Showing up.
So when Steve calls, That's what's happening.
Right. I mean, obviously I gave Steve my number sometimes. Right?
Steve has my number.
Right?
Yeah.
So what am I going to do?
Right.
Right? And we were talking earlier about, I too believe that everybody's time is equally as important.
Right.
Right? And if somebody is calling me that I gave their number to,
right,
they probably have a reason
that they're
and
calling.
I owe them something.
Right.
Right? Something.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I drop everything, but it does mean that even if I can't respond right then, that I respond pretty damn quickly.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yep. I love that. So you were talking about Breathe Girl, personallyspiritual.com. You can buy these t-shirts. I made it.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about the breath work because Linda shared with me that you guys were doing a breath work class, and I would love to hear a little bit about the breath work.
So we're doing this podcast thing, right? Do you know that in the next 2 minutes, we can actually give people the gift of a longer, healthier life?
Yes, let's go.
Right? It's all people have to do. Right? How many times today are you going to breathe?
A lot.
18,000.
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay. All I'm going to ask you to do is make 6 of them count.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. There's no magic to 6. I just think it's funny when I say that. So that's
I love it.
Okay. So what does a deep breath look like? Like, notice where you're breathing now. Okay. Most people, when you ask them to do that, their breath stops right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where are all the capillaries in our lungs? They're down here.
Right.
Okay. So when you short breathe, you ever notice like you breathe, and all of a sudden you go,
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because your body's going, excuse me, we don't have enough here.
Right.
Right? So a deep breath is like pouring water into a vase. You fill it from the bottom up. So a deep breath isn't about your chest expanding. It's about your belly expanding. It's totally socially unacceptable.
Right.
Right. So this is about picturing. In fact, for most people, it's easier if like you extend your belly first and then breathe into it. And then you fill that face up all the way to the top. Okay. And then let it go. And when you exhale, you let it fall out. And I'll tell you, on the exhale, if you allow a sigh to come out, it feels really good and it'll put a smile on your face.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So a deep breath, and when you really do it, there's always room for a little bit more. And you just take it till you're completely full. You hold it for 3-4 seconds.
Yeah.
And then just let it fall out. If you do that a few times a day,
yeah,
right? My suggestion is every time I have to wait, I take a deep breath.
Right.
So if I'm driving, I come to a red light, I take a deep breath.
Right.
Right. If I'm standing in line somewhere, a jewel or whatever, then I stop there for a second and take a deep breath.
Right.
What does it do? It gets more oxygen into my blood, reduces anxiety, right? Makes my internal organs healthier. Right? And if you do that consistently, you will live longer.
Okay, it's an incentive.
It's that simple. The easiest thing you
it's
can
amazing.
do to live longer is take meaningful breaths several times a day. And if you do that, like if you do inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 8,
okay,
and you do that 3 times, and then you do 2 more sets of those, which takes maybe 3-4 minutes in the morning, right? You can reduce your blood pressure significantly within a month.
Oh my gosh.
And you will live longer. So breath work started as a therapy program for me because it is absolutely a way to release emotions, stored emotions, and to perhaps access something else because it's completely unguided. And it's turned into that and absolutely a health routine. It's no different than going to the gym or brushing my teeth or anything else. And it's easily the simplest thing we can do to live longer.
It's amazing.
It is.
I mean, it really is always the simple stuff that we find oh, I don't feel like doing it.
And it doesn't sell one book.
And it doesn't sell one book.
It's not any of these things. It's not the light switch.
Right.
All these things are the foundations.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the foundations and then what I call the body of evidence, so you're a good person. You're doing this. You're getting something out of it, but you're sharing with others.
Yeah.
You're creating a community.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Specific to this.
Right.
That will only exist as you create it.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
That community, frankly, you will never know the impact that you're having on others.
Right.
Right? Because you don't know the people that are watching and how they use the information.
Right. Like we were saying, like you're sharing something with me, but with the filters in my mind and my experience, I'm going to take in what you're saying, how I take it in.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Use it in some way or not.
Right, exactly. Right. It might affect this thing I've got going in my life, or it might affect the way I look at myself, like you're saying. And I love, coming back to the way I treat myself and the way I treat other people are really most what I have in my command.
It's all you control.
And
all you.
Is there anything more important? You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. And so I want to say, what is would you say that the key to reclaiming joy is this abundant view?
Yeah, it is, because joy is a choice.
Right.
Right? It's not a thing. The saying money can't buy happiness is true. There's a reason that saying is there.
Yeah.
Right? Because whatever you get will give you happiness for a moment, but it doesn't bring you long-lasting anything.
Right. Because nothing.
And these are all things of whether it's taking a deep breath, whether it's recognizing a sunrise, whether it's being grateful for something. And then, look, everybody says, write 3 things you're grateful for, and keep that journal. Fine, you can do that. I would challenge you to say, why are you grateful for that?
Right.
And then when you answer that question, become your own annoying 4-year-old and ask, why am I grateful for that? Why? Exactly.
I love that.
Why am I grateful for this?
Right.
Why? What does this contribute to my life?
Right. I mean, honestly, like just hearing you present that idea, I can feel like, oh, that would actually, the specifics would cause me to feel the gratitude even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you will be stunned. I mean, I challenge everybody to do that, because you'll be stunned at the answers that you come up with.
Yeah.
If you drill down 6, 7 whys and you do it fairly consistently when you see something, I mean, when I ask people to do gratitude journals, 3 things always show up on one of 3 on everybody's. Grateful for the sunrise, so that's me, right?
Yeah.
Grateful for the sunrise, grateful for the sunset, grateful for rainbows. Those always show up, right?
I love that.
Well, why is that universal? What is it about that?
Because we all connect with.
You just said it. We all connect to it.
Yeah.
We understand there's a community of this. We're back to the community thing again.
Yeah.
So how is that? Where is that tie? Where do I get to that? And once you get to that piece, then you start to recognize the gratitude piece will go, yeah, I'm grateful for this. Oh, yeah, because Suzanne introduced me to this.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I really like her. She's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
She reminds me to breathe. That's awesome.
With my T-shirt.
Right. All these things, and before I know it, I'm grinning.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm going, life's good.
Yeah.
But it's the foundation pieces.
You're right.
It's not, oh, that's a T-shirt. Now I have joy. No,
right. No.
Not that at all.
Right.
It is, when we first start doing recovery things, you get introduced to the phrase doing the work.
Right.
Right? This is the work to joy.
Every day.
Getting
those neural pathways solidified.
Right. And then checking yourself, and then recognizing that we are still a reactionary animal thing. This piece in the back of our head exists, and it keeps us safe. all of the things that allowed us to have this false belief that I'm not something kept us safe at some point in
Right.
life.
Right.
When we were yay tall.
Right. Stay out of trouble.
Right.
Keep your head down.
Right. Keep your head down. Puff up and get big.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever you have to do to react.
It kept us safe.
Right.
Well, I'm at a place in my life where I can set some of those things down.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. We can recognize I'm a grown person now who can advocate for myself in a way I couldn't when I was a child.
Great. Because you know what? You know how much you know when you're a 4-year-old? You know what a 4-year-old knows. That's all you know.
Which is not much.
You cannot put your adult information and go, why didn't I do that? Why? Because you didn't know.
Right.
And you're little.
Right.
And you're very unsafe.
Right.
The world is big.
Vulnerable.
Right?
Yeah.
And these people around me are big, and they're all telling me what not to do.
Right.
Right. But we do get to the point now where you can say, thank you. You kept me safe.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of that. Now you can go, and I'm going to do this now. And I will screw up. And when I screw up, I can say, look at that. I chose wrongly, but I get to choose again.
Right.
Right. I get to choose again.
Yeah. And I always try to, remind myself, I'm just not always going to get it right. I think sometimes I get into that space where I'm like, oh, I didn't get it right. You're not going to always get it right. It's just the way it is. Well, this has been so amazing to have this chat with you. And I just want you to share with people where they can find your work and the services that you offer to people in Chicago as well as everywhere else.
Well, the website, like you said, is reclaimyourjoy.guru.
.guru.
Right?
Come on.
So the email is jeff@reclaimyourjoy.guru. Instagram is Jeffrey 60642.
60642.
Right.
Is that your zip code?
I was at one time in my life somewhere,
Here somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of workshops. If anybody would love to come to Edmonton, Canada in February, I'm doing an awesome workshop up there.
February 2025?
Yeah, and then a bunch. I do a lot with a lady in Grand Rapids. And we did 10 weekend retreats last year in Grand Rapids. So you can check the website.
Breath work, mostly?
Breath work, it's hypnotherapy work.
Like a healing.
It's a healing, and it is not, let's smell roses. This is some heavy lifting. So you'll get some, you'll shed a tear and have a laugh.
That's my favorite thing. To shed a tear while I'm having a laugh.
You can do that too. It'll happen.
So you have hypnotherapy that is in person or virtually?
I only do hypnotherapy in person.
Okay, yeah. So that's for the Chicagoland folks.
Yeah.
And
offices are on Ravenswood.
Okay.
Ravenswood and Irving.
Great. And then is there any virtual stuff you guys do?
I do a lot of virtual work, but not hypno work.
Okay.
But everything else, yeah.
So
absolutely.
the coaching, the counseling, drug and alcohol counsel, you can do in person or virtual.
I love doing, especially old school drug stuff. So alcohol, that kind of thing. I love doing that kind of work.
Yeah. It's deep work.
It's meaningful to me.
Meaningful. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So anybody who is interested and learning more about Jeff, you can go to reclaimyourjoy.guru and see what services that he offers that might be something that you would, like to investigate.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much for being on the Shit Show.